In the last year, I've completed more games than I have in the last decade. But it hasn't always been like this.
Yes! Yes! He's done.
And it's not like I've been spending more time gaming either. If anything, I've spent less. So how have I been completing more games? Well, for me, there's three main areas that I've noticed, at least moving from PC gaming back to console gaming. Three areas that have contributed quite massively in how many games I've been completing recently. But before we dive into what those three things are, I wanted to quickly mention why I stopped completing games in the first place. So growing up, I was entirely playing on consoles. I moved over to the PC after the Xbox 360 was the last console we had. I've actually just recently added it back to my collection if you check out the video up there. So from the Xbox 360, I moved over to a gaming PC, and I think realistically that was about when I stopped completing games. And I continued playing games on PC until quite recently with this shelf behind me that I've built, and I've switched back to console gaming. I hadn't actually realised I'd stopped completing so many games until I moved back to consoles. One day I was watching a video about other collectors in this area talking about their backlog and how they've got more games than they're completing. And then I thought, when I look at my collection, I've actually completed over 50% of what I've got. And that was when I realised, oh, I'm actually completing a lot of games considering my track history, which is when I realised I've actually completed more games this last year than the entire decade beforehand. So in terms of why I moved from PC gaming back to consoles and building all this stuff, I'm going to save that for a separate video. It's kind of a whole saga in itself. So before I get started with the three things that have helped me complete more games, I want to ask whoever's watching, how much of your collection have you completed? Let me know in the comments below. I think I'm over 50% to be honest, but I don't know. I see enough people with massive collections and I can't imagine they completed all of them. But so far, I think over 50% is a pretty good balance. So let me know in the comments below how much of your collection you've actually completed. Okay, so jumping into point number one. So the first big reason why I think I've been able to complete more games recently is because of the friction that comes with playing with older hardware. So what do I mean by friction specifically, and how's that let me complete more games? Well, I'm talking about how hard it is to change from one game to the next. See, with PC gaming, as I'm sure a lot of you watching this can relate to, it's very easy to switch from one game to another. If you take a Steam library, for example, closing out of one game and then moving over to the next game that's very quick. I'm no stranger to loading a game, not immediately being hooked by it, and then just closing it, uninstalling and moving on to the next one. And that's the main focus of this point. It's about not needing to be hooked immediately when you first start playing a game. Like I said, something I did a lot with PC gaming. I'm sure it's probably similar with modern consoles as well, but I'm coming from a PC gaming perspective. It's very easy to install a game, load it up, start playing, and if it doesn't grab you straight away, you just exit out of it, maybe even uninstall, move on to the next thing. Or what would often happen for me is I would try and play a single player game. It doesn't give me the same thrill as a competitive like esports game, and I just close out and to be honest, I'll be going back to League of Legends, quite frankly. But what I found going back to these consoles is that you don't really have that option. Obviously, it is relatively easy to switch out games, but it's just difficult enough that I just don't find myself doing it. I mean, the sheer fact that I can't change a game from the controller itself is enough friction. I'm sat in the chair I normally game in. When I'm sat in this white chair, leant back, the last thing I want to do is stand up and change the game out just because I'm not hooked, straight away. It's the little bit of friction that forces you to sit with your decision and sit with that game. And what that friction has meant for me is that I'm sticking to games that I otherwise would probably just abandon, and I'm seeing them through to the end. Now, I know that sounds like I'm just putting up with bad games, but a lot of the games I've completed in my collection, I've started off by thinking it's not really my kind of thing, and then, 6-7 hours later I've completed the game and I think it's pretty good. An example of that for me would be the Medal of Honor series. Now, I've made a short on Medal of Honor. I think I've mentioned it in some of my other videos. Medal of Honor Rising Sun is one of the earliest games I picked up on the PS2. And I remember when I first started playing it, I just couldn't get into it. I was 30 minutes in. The controls were kind of bugging me. This was before I had my CRT as well, and I was playing it on this flat screen. It was kind of hard to see enemies a lot of the time, especially in dark sections. I couldn't see the enemies. But where that friction was there that didn't allow me just to hot swap into a new game, I did continue through and I completed it, and I liked the Medal of Honor games. I mean, I liked it enough to go and buy the other Medal of Honor games on the PS2. I'm not claiming that this is my favourite game of all time. I actually prefer Medal of Honor Frontline, but again, I wouldn't have played that game had I not stuck out and played through Rising Sun. I wouldn't have thought to go and get the other ones if I hadn't gone through that experience with Rising Sun. And the friction I'm talking about is a bit of a double whammy. It's quite literally the friction of changing out a game, moving from one game to the next. Obviously, for the PlayStation 2, like I'm talking about, you have to open the disc tray. You actually have to reboot the console to load into a different game. But it's also the friction because you might not own lots of other games anyway. I mean, I suppose that's different for different people. My collection isn't that big, so I don't have that many options. But obviously, with a gaming PC where everything's digital, you have the entire repertoire of games on the PC. You know, all you have to do is buy them digitally and they're there. But with consoles, obviously, you have to go out and physically buy them, or you can buy them online and get them delivered, but that's still days of time to get that delivered. So that's where friction has helped me complete more games. That bit of friction in the right place helps prevent you from just jumping from different things, and I've completed a lot more games that way. So moving on to the second main point, and that second point is shorter game sessions. This is kind of what I meant about spending less time playing games, although my overall time spent playing games is also down. The length of my sessions has also reduced a lot too. But that reduced sessions has actually also allowed me to complete a lot more games. Since moving from PC gaming back to consoles, the big change in how I actually play those games is the length of game sessions. So what I more often find myself doing is sitting down for 20 minutes, 30 minutes at a time and just playing whatever game is already in the console. That point obviously ties in quite closely to friction. I'm just going to be sat down and playing probably what's already in the console. If it's a game I've not completed yet, then it's going to still be in there from the last session, so that's the game I'm playing. I mean, you know I ain't changing it out, so that's the one I'm playing. Having the short sessions actually makes things a lot easier for me. Not only does it make it simpler to kind of plan when you're going to play a game, it's much easier to find 20-30 minutes here and there than it is for, you know, the minimum 1 hour for a game of League of Legends, for example. But for me, most often it's 20 to 30 minutes at a time. Sometimes it goes over that, but 20 to 30 minutes consistently is how I'm able to complete a lot more games. Now, what does that have to do with these older consoles? Of course, you can do shorter game sessions on PC, but everything about PC gaming and modern gaming is kind of designed against that. I mean, you have things like, obviously, games need updating. A lot of games require you to be online, even if you're not playing multiplayer necessarily. So there's just, everything takes a lot longer to get into. You know, the difference between powering on and starting the game has grown as consoles and PC gaming has developed. I mean, if you look at my Mega Drive, the time between pressing the power button and playing Sonic 2, I mean, it's no time at all. By the time you've turned it on and sat down in the chair, it's already ready to go. You're not signing in, you're not waiting to connect to a server. Funnily, I'm now realizing in point 1 when I said friction in the right place, this is an example of friction in the wrong place. Hurdles to jump to actually start the game, that's friction in the wrong place, you know. But when you can just put a disc in or a cartridge in and boot straight into a game, it allows those quicker game sessions, those shorter game sessions, more frequently, and then ultimately you're completing more games that way. I think game design is part of it as well. I think at the time of these consoles when games were being made, they were being made for a casual audience. And so a lot of them are designed to be played. In short instances. Obviously there are games that are much longer. Games like some of the Final Fantasy games, for example, you have quite big gaps in between save points, and so it kind of forces you to play a bit longer so you can reach that save point. And Mega Drive games and games of that generation largely don't have saves, so you kind of have to finish your session and just turn the console off, or to be honest, sometimes I have just turned the TV off, left my Sonic 2 going and come back to it later. But again, even those arcadey style games are still built around short sessions. The whole progression of the game is you actually just getting better. So there is no need for you to save because what is being saved is your ability to play the game. And so next time you come back to play it, you're not starting from the beginning, you're starting from your own ability to get through the game. That was a difficult bit of logic to string together. So anyway, that's point 2. That's the second major point of how I've been able to complete more games. It's shorter sessions more frequently has allowed me just to blast through my back catalogue. Okay, so jumping into the third main point. That point is quite simply a shift in mindset. Now, granted, that shift in mindset isn't really exclusive to these consoles. It could just be that I'm not a teenager anymore and I don't have infinite hours to play CSGO ranked over and over again. But whatever it is, whether it is these consoles or whether it's just something that happens as you grow up a bit, the way that I've been approaching new games has changed massively. And this point really ties into the 2 previous points. But what I really mean by mindset change is what I'm looking to get out of a game when I sit down and play it. My mindset of what I'm expecting from a game has changed massively. I have a lot more draw to the design, the aesthetic, the story, the voice acting, kind of the whole production of the game. When I'm sat down playing a game, I'm not just thinking about how much I'm enjoying it. I'm thinking about the work that went into the artwork or the animation. I'm thinking about how it would have been people like me working their job at these game companies, at the game dev companies, creating this game. That's how I've been able to get through games that are, pretty bad. Like Devil May Cry 2, for example. I made a video on that. Devil May Cry 2 being considered a pretty bad game, but the history around the production of it is interesting to me by itself. Like, that's the shift in mindset. I'm not just playing a game, I'm experiencing the production behind the game at the same time. It's like both happening simultaneously, right? I'm playing the game and I'm also experiencing that production behind the scenes. That mindset shift has played a very large part in how many games I've completed, and also just the overall enjoyment I've had from games. Even with things like my speaker setup, going back and experiencing games, even the same games that I played as a kid, playing them now and getting to hear what it sounds like out of decent speakers instead of just the TV speakers. That's the kind of shift I'm talking about. Those are the things I'm focusing on. I'm thinking about the sound design, the lighting. When voice acting is either good or bad, I'm just thinking, well, what would that have been like in the booth when they recorded that line, right? I know that third point's a bit more personal rather than being specific to consoles, but it has been a massive driver that's allowed me to complete so many more games more recently. So that concludes it for this video. Those are the 3 main reasons why I think I've been completing so many more games recently. This video is a bit of a change of style for me with more sit down talking, so I hope you enjoyed that and I'll see you in the next one.